Hey everyone from the Webflow community, and welcome back to another flowninja tutorial. In this one, we're going to be going over the flowninja checklist and specifically going over your CMS lists and making sure that all of your collection lists, items and whatever elements are set up in the proper way. So let's jump straight into it. So when doing a CMS, there are a few things you might do super fast and you don't notice them, which are gonna make your website not look as professional or maybe not rank on Google as good as it should be. So we just have a set number of checklist items you should take care of in order to know that every single one of your collection lists is good to go. So the first thing is for CMS logs, make sure that you actually name them like blog, author, service, and not naming those CMS logs like blogs, authors, services, because it makes much more sense if you have a blog, for example, that is blog and then blog post, and that is like, for example, author Uroshmikic, because it doesn't make sense that your authors Uroshmikic. I mean, from my personal perspective, that's how we like naming them. I'm not sure is there a specific reason for that, but that is just the convention we're following. And as we were building templates before, that is also one of the requirements when sending over a template to Webflow Template Marketplace. So we just continued following that in the end. For CMS fields, we always try using the description part of the CMS fields below this. So in this case, this is our own website, so we're not adding that as in this case, I'm the one managing it. But later on, if I do decide to move this responsibility to somebody else, I always want to go back and add custom descriptions for every single one of the fields that might not make sense on the first try for the clients to actually know what they need to do on that front. So just make sure to follow that process and to add custom descriptions for every single one of the CMS fields. Then when adding dummy content, make sure to add a minimum of 3 items but ideally 7 items for the dummy content in the CMS. So we make sure that we see when you start adding more CMS items, sometimes things can break, so that when client adds actual content, that there are no problems on that front. Then for the CMS connections, you want to make sure that every single element on the page is connected to the CMS. Sometimes, specifically, let's say this case where we have a fun interaction happening on page load, we forget connecting that to the CMS. So just click around with every single element and make sure that it's purple or whatever we can call the color here. So like just click, this is connected to the CMS, this is connected to the CMS, this. Every single one of these items is connected to the CMS. This is using our free resource for sharing. So we just need to have Facebook, Twitter, and also in the end LinkedIn icons, LinkedIn classes added, and then in the project settings we have our free resource to push those also. So yeah, I mean it's just gonna be double checking every single thing one more time, just because it can happen that you forget and the client coming back to you and saying, okay, I published a new blog post but I still have a lorem ipsum rich text. It's not gonna be the greatest thing for you to see also. Then it's for conditional visibility. So like for anything that the client might forget to add to your website, you want to make sure that we add conditional visibility to that. So for example, in this case, we have a read time, but sometimes somebody might forget to add the read time. So on the bubble on the left, we want to add read time is set and only then showcase the blog item dot. And you can go over the especially when creating more complex CMSs or landing pages with the CMS itself, you want to make sure that every single one of those items that should not be shown has a conditional visibility set. Then in terms of the CMS post page designs, we like adding content to even FAQs, for example, just that it has a navigation, a hero, question, answer, and then the footer. Just in any case, we're not linking to that in any sort of way, but Webflow is automatically going to be adding it to the sitemap. Unless creating a manual sitemap, there is no way to exclude it from the sitemap. So the ideal scenario would be to have at least something on that front if somebody ends up that they don't end up on a 404. Then for the empty CMS list state, if our clients sometimes delete items or whatever with the website, we want to try to look as professional as possible in that case. I mean, you cannot look really professional when that's happening, but adding just a simple empty state like, oops, no related articles for this post is gonna be so much better for the users to actually see than the default one that Webflow is adding. So you want to make sure that for every single one of the CMS posts we're adding, we add this custom field here. I mean, custom empty CMS state. Then in terms of CMS items connections, we want to make sure that every single one of these items, like when we are showcasing the items, is connected to its post page, because you can forget sometimes you add a div block and you just completely forget to link to it on the page itself. So you want to link to the current blog page, or in our case, sometimes we're outlinking, and when you're outlinking, make sure to outlink to a new tab and then to add a real no referrer to the link that you're outlinking from the website to. Then the next thing is for the SEO titles and descriptions. If we're migrating the website, of course, make sure that they're following exactly the same SEO titles and descriptions as previously. But in our case, we also like adding custom descriptions for new blog posts. So we create a new CMS field for SEO title, description, and OG image. And that's where our SEO consultants can go ahead and write the SEO titles, descriptions, and from our side, of course, uploading the open graph image itself. For sorting and filtering, it's always important to remember to add the sorting and filtering to your pages. Like in this case, blog is not the current blog post. If you're adding a related article, then we have some specific blog posts we want to feature. So we're adding featured is on first, and then also making sure to add published on to showcase the newest first, and then the oldest. So in our case, kind of making sure that you don't show the oldest blog post and then the client is asking, okay, I just published a blog post, where it is, what to do, etc., etc. And then the final thing is just adding the CMS switches. So like for featured items or for any sort of that's custom functionality, you can add a switch and then kind of use a custom filtering and then describe to the client what the switch is doing and how they can use it in order to kind of use their website in the no-code way as much as possible. So that will be everything for CMS in Webflow. So we just passed another part of the checklist. I guess it's long just to explain everything. So like I can imagine that sometimes going over the checklist can take a little bit more time. But we just have one last video we're going to be going over, and then we're going to be able to send our website to QA and then afterwards go live. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.